Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Motion.io live stream. Really excited to be joining you all on this Friday. Got a super fun session here for you today. What we're going to be doing is yesterday, I went ahead and pulled our support questions from the questions customers write in and ask us about Motion.io. I tallied them up. I looked at what are the most common questions that people want to know about Motion.io. What are the things that people often need help with? So this is going to be a really cool live stream, whether you are a longtime customer of Motion.io, whether you're just getting up and running, maybe you sign up for a trial account. It's going to take you through a lot of different questions, as well as expose you to like power user features, but also your own basic setup, best practices, stuff like that. Before I go ahead and jump into that, though, I actually do want to talk a little bit about some of the new features that we have released into Motion.io this week and last. So I'm going to pop in here and let's take a look at the Motion.io changelog. If you're not familiar with this page that you're seeing right now, this is a great place to go if you're ever curious about what we've released over the past week, maybe what we've released over the past couple weeks. We keep this really updated whenever we ship, which is typically, as you can see here, almost every Wednesday. We will update this with the things that we've released this week. So this past week was a really, really powerful release for us in terms of improving some of the existing functionality within Motion.io. The most highly requested feature on here, this ability to populate custom fields multiple times in the same contract. This is something that I know a ton of you out there have been asking for, and we're really excited to be offering it. Basically, what you can do with this feature, and I will be showing you exactly how it works in a couple minutes, but previously in Motion.io, if you had a custom field, let's say the client's business's address, and you wanted to populate that in a contract, you could, but you could only use that information a single time. Now, with this new functionality, what you can do is just by changing a simple naming convention, you can reuse a custom field multiple times throughout a project, which is really, really useful for things like, especially long contracts and agreements that you're sending to clients, because they don't have to enter anything. When they get that contract, it'll have stuff like their business address, like their pricing information populated all the way through it, even if it appears multiple times, saves your clients time, saves your team time, and super, super useful. Next down the list, we have weekly recurring tasks, and I'm going to show you how these work as well. Basically, with recurring tasks and the way that they work is if you have something that you need clients to do on a repeat schedule, and you don't want to have to manually create a new task each time you need them to do that, recurring tasks allow you to automate that process. So with recurring tasks, you used to only be able to have a recurring task that would repeat on a monthly basis. What we've done now is we have updated this functionality within Motion.io's Task Composer. So you can have a task that recurs every single week on the day of the week that you choose. Finally, going to be talking about some improvements that we've made. And this is also something I'll show you as we go through some of these top questions, because we also, in our support desk, get a lot of questions about automations. But we've done nearly a complete overhaul of the way that you view and access automations in Motion.io. I'll be talking about a couple of those things throughout this webinar. It's really cool. Basically, what you can do now within automations is give them custom names, and we really surface what each specific automation does in a much easier and much clearer way. So with that, a reminder, as I talk through this, the things that I will share today, feel free to jump in with questions of your own. I've come prepared with a whole bunch of questions that I'll be answering about Motion.io to get us started. But I do love answering questions from all of you in the audience. So definitely write in with anything that you're curious about, and I will cover it live. So the first thing that I want to talk about, which we just covered partially in my overview of the features that we've released this week, but a question that we get a lot is, how do I or how can I populate custom fields in contracts? So I'm going to show you that, and then I'll show you how our functionality that allows you to populate the same custom field multiple times again and again works in Motion.io now that we have it. So let me just go ahead and jump into my own Motion.io account. And let's talk a little bit about custom fields. So if you are not familiar with custom fields and the way that they work in Motion.io just yet, basically in your account settings page, you can click on the Fields tab here, and this will bring up the area where you can create custom fields in Motion.io. The easiest way to explain how custom fields work is basically you enter a title here. So I'm going to call this, what should I call this? Let's say primary contact name. So if I added a custom field for primary contact name, I could copy the slug for this custom field, and I can use it in various parts throughout my Motion.io projects and templates. So that's going to include using it in tasks, the welcome emails Motion.io sends, as well as things like contracts. So I'm going to go ahead into my contracts here. And for this example, I want to show you the full process, kind of starting from scratch of creating a contract in Motion.io. So I'm going to click create here, and I'm just going to go ahead and drag the PDF of my new client contract into the window here. Now that I've uploaded this, I'll give it a quick name. And then I'm going to click Edit Fields. So in the field editor in Motion.io, this is where you're going to go and map your various fields that you want the client to complete. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and add a text field for the client's name. And this will be the name that they have to fill in. And I'll show you, since I already know who this client is and I know who I'm working with, who the primary contact is, based on that field that I just created. I don't want to have to make the client enter this information again. So what I can do is I can use that custom field that I just created to populate that information automatically. So to do this, I'm going to go back to my custom field that I just created, which is the client's primary contact name. And I'm going to go ahead and under advanced settings, paste in the slug for that custom field within this contract. I'm also going to go ahead and give this a label, client name. And now when I send this contract to the client, it'll pull that primary contact name custom field value into this contract. And then I can go ahead and just repeat the process. I'm going to map actually a lot of these to custom fields, these that I am adding here. So under advanced settings, I'm then going to, once again, return to the API ID. This is where, if you missed it or you're just tuning in, this is where you paste in your custom field slug to auto-populate. So cool, I added client pricing there. And I can also repeat this for the client's email address. One thing to note too about the client email address, Motion.io actually has a few custom fields predefined that you can use in contracts. And if you toggle this instructions area at the top of the contract template editor, you can just go ahead and paste that. So I'm going to grab the slug for motion.io's system field. And just as I did with my own custom fields, paste that into the API ID section. And now here's where we really get to the cool part of that functionality I was talking about that we added this week. So previously, I have a contract here with a client's name that appears at the top. Then it also appears at the bottom. Up until this week, I couldn't reuse that same custom field in this document. I'd have to create another one. So I wouldn't be able to use this primary contact name custom field that I created a second time. Now we have made this possible in motion.io. And the way that you reuse a custom field is super duper simple. Basically, all you will do is paste in the custom field slug. And then after the end of that slug, you'll simply add underscore and then a number. I like to start with 2 just to signify to myself that, hey, I know this custom field is included once already. This is the second. If I add another client field to this contract for some reason and want to populate that same value, I would probably name it 3. But it's really as simple as that. You don't have to bother creating additional fields. Motion.io, after you add this quick naming convention with the underscore and 2, is automatically going to be able to reuse that same field within your project. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, and it is ready to go. And I see we have our first person writing in Virginia. How you doing today? Thanks for the feature request. So Virginia wrote in with a feature request: automatically detect and size form fields in the contract creation process. Yeah, that is that would be really, really useful. What Virginia's talking about, for anybody who is curious, basically, and I believe that this is what you're referencing, when you add fields to a contract, it gives them a default size. One thing to point out, though, Virginia, that might be helpful is our contract template editor tool does make it pretty easy to resize the fields. But I could see how there would be value of automating that. Make sure to add a feature request for you. Another thing too to point out that once you add a field to a contract and resize it, the next field you add is actually going to be that exact same size. So this can be really useful. For example, let's say you have a checkbox, right? And you want that checkbox to be a little bit larger. This is a big checkbox, but it'll do a good job of showing an example of what I'm talking about. So if I add this and resize it, if I add another checkbox to my contract, it's going to maintain that sizing. And that's something that I've often done for customers when, it's an especially long document that they send and I'm helping to create it. I'll often go sort of one field at a time and make sure that I'm just reusing that field. So it's kind of carrying through those different, the size that I specified the first time. But yeah, thank you for sending that in, Virginia. That's, very helpful to know, and I will log a feature request for you for that. So back in my motion.io account here, the next thing that I wanted to talk about is how you can use forms in motion.io to populate the value of custom fields. And the reason why we get this question a lot is that the way custom fields work, so you create them in your account initially, which I showed just a few minutes ago. But then when you create a project, what you'll notice, and let me just hop back in here to my motion.io account. When you create a new project, if you do that manually, what you'll notice is that all of the custom fields you create in your account and then have in your projects are going to be blank initially. And we need a way to set the value for these fields. Well, you can do this manually by just entering in a value in your project to pull from. Automating this can save you a ton of time. And at Motion.io, it's a feature that I think it takes people a little while to stumble upon because you got to know the product, you got to start using custom fields. But one of the really cool things that you can do is you can populate all of this information directly from a Motion.io form. So you don't have to enter it manually within a project. And let me go ahead and show you how to do that. Virginia, thanks for that additional comment. It isn't easy to get them to the same size, meaning the fields in a contract when you move from one section to another, or you can't resize them with math or field specifics. That's a good point. Yeah, thank you for that additional context. I'll make sure to include that. So back to showing you all how you can automate the setting of custom field values in your Motion.io projects. I'm going to go ahead and hop into one of my Motion.io forms. And I'm actually just going to start this process from scratch. So I'm going to have our AI builder create a form for me. I'll say onboarding form, create a new client onboarding form for my website design business. Go ahead and create this form. Give Motion.io's AI a couple seconds to think here. And I love this AI form builder, even though a lot of times I'll often customize the initial form that Motion.io's AI creates. I found that this is a super cool way to just like get the basics of the form. So maybe I only have to do the final 20% of configuration, maybe adding a couple of fields. And yeah, in this case, it did a really great job. So if you would like to use the forms clients submit when they when you are onboarding them, when you're working with them to populate your custom field values, the process of doing so is super easy. I'm just going to rename this example onboarding form. All you have to do is first, you're going to want to know like, hey, what custom fields do I need to populate and create those in your account. But once those are created, I know that I have a custom field for primary contact name. I'm going to assume that the person filling out this form is also the primary contact. I can click the little settings icon here, go to populate fields and click enable population. And then I will go down the list and select my primary contact name field. And it's as simple as that. So when the client enters their name here, it will populate the corresponding custom field within their project. Next, we have a question that's called budget range. And I'm actually just going to adjust this question a little bit to be in line with the information that I want to auto-populate in the contract. So I'm going to change this to just very quickly be, I'll say that my web design offers a bronze package. And a silver package, as well as a gold package. And I'm going to retitle this question itself package. Please select your package. Okay. And now, just as I did with that primary contact name field I wanted to auto-populate, I'm going to go ahead and click Populate Custom Fields once again. I'll enable population and then just go right down the list here and grab my client pricing custom field. So I'll just stick with those two for right now. And then I'm going to add this form to a project to show you how you would set up your template if you were using custom fields to populate information in a contract. Because there are some specifics, some common hang-ups where it can be easy to get stuck here. And I want to walk you through how to actually set up your template right so you can start using this with clients as soon as possible. So with this form created, I'm just going to go ahead and let's create a new project template. If you are watching this and you're unfamiliar or you're new to Motion.io, project templates are a really powerful aspect of Motion.io because what it allows you to do is build out repeatable workflows that are going to apply for any type of client who purchased a specific service, who follows a certain workflow or process within your business. So I'm going to go ahead and just name this example. And great, this is blank, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add 2 quick stages. I'll call one onboarding. I'll create another stage that is going to be titled launch. This is just an example, but I do want to show you how to set up your template. So for the very first task in my project, I'm going to make this a client task. Just call it complete onboarding form. And then I am going to use Motion.io's task composer to select the form that I created. Cool. So I'll go ahead and save that. And one thing that I want to point out is that when you are setting up a project that contains one of these forms that's going to auto-populate other values inside the project, I typically recommend that that form should be the first thing or the first task that clients complete. You could also, even if you wanted to, have a internal form task where instead of the client filling out this information, one of your team members could fill it out. So a project got created. The first thing that your team member would do is fill out the internal form. It could then populate those custom fields everywhere else in the project. The reason why this is so important, having your form that populates custom field values be the first thing done in the project, is because if you go to send a client a contract or you go to send a task that includes a custom field, if those custom fields haven't had values populated for them or you haven't entered them manually yet, it's not going to show up for the client. So you want to make sure that you have that information right from the jump. But now that I've done that and I have this task for the client to complete the form that does populate those custom fields, I can then add another task that includes that. And this very next task I'll add will be another client task for them to sign the contract. So I'm going to select that new client contract that I just added and go ahead and click done. So great, just to quickly recap what this workflow is going to look like when we invite a client to a project that was created from this template. They'll go into their portal, complete this onboarding form, and then the details that they enter here will then populate directly within this contract that I set up. So they don't have to bother filling in things manually. All they got to do is read it, sign it. You can get to work a lot faster. And then as a reminder too, the way the tasks work in Motion.io is this is going to automatically follow up until the client completes it. So a really great way to set up a template to streamline your workflow. So I know we've talked a lot about contracts, custom fields, things like that, but I do want to show you some other pretty cool things in Motion.io outside of that. And one of the big questions we always get are, what are the different types of ways that I can customize my client portals in Motion.io to better align with my brand, my processes, the things that I want to automate to eliminate this manual, tedious project management work that you often have to do. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the first piece of that, which is just the design of your portals, the things that clients are engaging with. And we offer a couple of different customizations, both at the portal level, but then the project level, which is completely configurable to the type of workflow that you're running. One of the very, very cool things we added in our last update is the ability to add a custom header image for all of your client portals. So I'm in here in the settings of my account, and this is where you configure portal level settings. So any of the settings that you change here are going to apply globally to every client portal in your account. So in the portals page, what you'll see now if you come down to the bottom here is you can actually add a custom portal header image. And I'm going to remove this just to quickly show you the process. It's super easy. All you got to do is click change on this and then upload an image. And as I mentioned on the settings page, these are all global configurations that you're going to modify. So this is going to appear on every single client portal within my account. And just to quickly preview this, show you what it looks like, I'm going to hop into a project here, that project I just created. And I will go ahead and just preview this by opening it in a new tab. And let me just share my other screen. And cool, I can see now that directly within my portal, this custom header image that I added is now available. My clients can edit it. While we're in here, a lot of a question we often get from newer users, if you're just kind of exploring the project is, hey, what are the difference between these pages over here and the pages that appear under a specific project? So to quickly explain how this works, the pages that you see for home, my tasks, files, and messages, these are portal pages in Motion.io. And with portal pages, they are going to apply and operate in the same fashion across every portal that clients have access to that you invite to Motion.io. Project tabs, however, which you can access by clicking the name of the project. So this is my example project from earlier. Project tabs, however, these are going to be specific to that client, and only clients who you have invited to a specific project will be able to access them. So the two default project pages in Motion.io are going to be welcome and tasks, but you can add project pages or tabs of your own with embedded software, with videos, links, any information your client might need to access about a project, you are able to add here. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this customization because it is something really helpful that, if you're not using it already, really opens up so many different possibilities of the way that you can centralize your client's engagement with your team directly in one place. So let's go back into this example project I created. And I'm going to create some custom tabs in addition to the welcome and tasks tabs that are there already. I'm here now in my example project. And in addition to creating some portal tabs of my own, I want to also go ahead and I'm just going to do away with this welcome page. I don't think that I need that necessarily for right now, so I'll just remove it. I'm also going to rename the tasks tab project tasks. Just as a quick note, while you can remove the initial welcome page, Motion.io adds by default to projects, you cannot remove the tasks tab. You can rename it, but you can't remove it just because this tab in particular, if a client can't access, they can't see what's going on in the project and they won't be able to access their project tracker. So you can rename it, but not remove it. To add a new portal tab, I'm going to click new, and then I'm going to give this a title. For the title of this, I'm going to call this schedule appointments. And what you'll see in the editor here is that I have kind of two sections to choose from. So I have the content, which I can use to paste in links, text. I could even add images here if I wanted. I'm not going to use this image here because I've already added it as my custom header image. I don't want it to repeat. But this rich text editor here allows you to do lots of cool stuff. It supports the ability to, format and edit your text, but also, embed links, add photos here. So But for this portal tab, because I'm calling this schedule appointments, I want to be able to give clients access to my online calendar whenever they would like. So I'm going to quickly go and copy the link for my Calendly calendar and just paste it in here. As a note, you can also paste in iframe embed codes, but a lot of times if you have a shareable URL, simply pasting that URL is going to be enough, and you will see it populate in the portal tab for your client. So I'll click change icon here, and then I'm going to select this calendar icon and click save. So cool. I've created that tab, which will allow clients invited to the project to schedule whenever they want. I'm going to add another new tab for, we'll just call this a Gantt chart. Because, let's say that we use a Gantt chart internally, but and we want clients to be able to see that and view that in their portals. What I'm going to do for this portal tab is I'm actually going to grab a spreadsheet that I've created that contains an example Gantt chart, and I'm going to embed this directly into my project tab. So over here in Google, I'm going to go and just copy the link, head back to the project where I was editing the tabs, and paste that link I copied into the app embed code section. I'll choose an icon different from the last one, click save, and we are good to go. And actually, okay. And you can do this with any type of spreadsheet. This was just the one that I had available. I'll actually rename this just to be sort of general spreadsheet, just to make it clear for anyone in the audience watching. So now with those added, let's go ahead and see what it looks like. I'll preview my client portal once again and come in here. And great, you'll see now that in addition to this project tasks tab, I have my tab with the spreadsheet embedded directly. So the client can engage with that if I need, or just simply view it, as well as my embedded Calendly calendar. A quick note about using these project tabs is that if there are things that are a little bit more task specific or happen within certain stages of projects, I typically recommend that instead of adding those things to a portal tab, you just add them to a task. So for example, let's say that instead of this just general chat calendar, I had a very specific calendar for clients to schedule their kickoff call. That's a good example of something that I would want to include in a task as opposed to embedding in a portal tab. The simplest way to phrase it is that anything your clients are going to be having to access multiple times again and again throughout projects will often work better in portal tabs. Anything that is like a one-off request, something a client has to do one time and then it's done, those are going to work better, and it's going to be better to use tasks to embed your third-party tools. So I will pause there for any questions about anything I've covered so far. Do you want to know more about how portal tabs work and the different types of things that you can create with them? Do you want to talk more about automations in Motion.io or contracts? Let me know. Send in your comments. I will be reading them all and responding to them all live. Yeah, please don't be shy and ask away. So now that we've talked about portal customizations, which is a big question that we get, I want to talk about our next most asked Motion.io question, which is going to be, can I integrate Motion.io with XYZ CRM? The short answer to this question is yes, absolutely. Our Zapier integration provides a number of different ways to do this. And I'm going to quickly show you a way that you can set up a Zap of your own that's going to not only integrate with your CRM, but enable you to automate the process of creating new projects, inviting your client to them, and auto-assigning them tasks. So in order to onboard a client, you literally don't have to lift a finger. So let's go ahead and I'm going to jump into my Zapier account to show you how you can set this up. Okay. So this is a Zap that I created just shortly before this video to kind of show you the way it works so I wouldn't have to walk through the full setup. What we often see, and typically the way that I suggest integrating Motion.io with your CRM, is when something changes or you apply a label, usually something like closed won or setting a customer status to active or client or paid, you can use that to then invite them to a Motion.io project. So in this case, I'm using HubSpot as the trigger. And basically what will happen is that when, I'll just go ahead and select my account here. Whoops. Is that when the deal property, which is deal stage, when this deal stage becomes active, or sorry, when this deal stage is set to closed won, Motion.io will automatically invite the client to a project, send them tasks to complete, and give them access to their portal. So I've set up my trigger. That is good to go. I'm next going to come down here, and I am going to first connect my Motion.io account. And if you haven't done this, it's really super easy. All you have to do to access the settings for adding a new account in Motion.io to Zapier is go into your settings page and then go to integrations and copy in your API key, as well as your team ID into the pop-up window. And it wasn't letting me share the pop-out for connecting a new account, but it is really easy, and at least you know where to go in your Motion.io account to get that information. So with this, I can now choose the Create Project event, and I'm going to go ahead and click Continue. And in the first step of my Create Project action, I will have to select a template. So, and this step is optional, but the reason why I recommend when you are using the Create Project action to specify a template is because otherwise you'd just be inviting someone to a blank project. And if you've built out your templates already, this is going to give them access to all of the tasks, portal tabs, etc., related to that project without you having to recreate it or add those tasks on the fly. So this is a really important step that I do recommend doing. For the portal name, you can map this to any of the fields that your CRM pulled in. For a lot of the customers I've set up a similar Zapier integration with, what they often use is the customer's name for this. So you would just map this to a field from the form submission or from the information pulled in from your CRM. You can also specify a project owner here. If you want, hey, every time the Zap fires, assign this specific person to it, you can do that here. And then you also have the ability to add in the client's email and name. And this is something I absolutely recommend doing, because what this will do is if you map the client name and email field to some data pulled in from your triggering event. So in this case, it would pull in the client associated with the deal from HubSpot. Motion.io can add them to the project, and you can also immediately assign all of the tasks for them to complete. Just a quick note, if you toggle this as true, it's not going to send those tasks. All this is going to do is assign the client to them. But the great thing is after you do that and configure it this way, Zapier will handle the part where it's assigning the clients, and then your Motion.io automations can handle actually sending those tasks out to the client to complete in the order that you specify. A final thing that I wanted to point out about this create project action in motion.io is it also gives you the ability to set custom field values. So while we talked about the process for populating custom fields through forms, what you can do in this create project action is you can actually set those custom field values here as well. And if you were doing things this way, if you're using Zapier to populate fields, you actually wouldn't even have to do it through a form anymore. And the way that you do this, just to quickly show you, is all you will have to do is grab a custom field from your account. So I'm going to select that primary contact name field that I added to my account earlier at the start of this live stream. Paste that in here. Oh, sorry, wrong spot. Paste that in here. And it's important to note that within Zapier, you'll want to remove the double brackets for the custom field and just include the raw text there. Don't include the double brackets. And then finally, what I will do so that this custom field gets set every time a project is created is then I can also map this to information that my HubSpot deal pulled in. And I didn't finish testing this, but the way that you would do this is you just click plus here, and then you could choose the information that you wanted to map this to from the dropdown. And I see we have a question from, I believe it's Tim from Ela Connect. Thanks, Tim, for the question. I actually just finished talking about how Zapier works. So let's go ahead and let's show you how you can do this in real time. So for Tim's question, what he asked is, hi, Sam. So can custom field data be added to the portal invite email for the new project? Yes, Tim, great question. You can do this. And the way that you will do this is hop into your account. And let me go back to my Motion.io account to show you exactly how you do this. So if you are unfamiliar with the welcome emails that clients receive, what Tim's referencing is when you invite a client to a project, they receive an email from Motion.io with some information about how it works and access to their portal. They can click that magic link at the bottom of their email, automatically be taken to their portal. And what Tim is asking about is, hey, can I use those custom fields that I set up in these client welcome emails? And yes, you can. So I am in here within my project. This works the exact same way in a template. And under settings, I go to the emails tab, and you'll see that Motion.io has already added some of the system default fields to this email. But if I want to add my own custom fields, I'm totally free to do so. So let's, for example, say that I don't want to use recipient there for the intro. I instead want to use the primary contact name custom field that I set up, and I actually just showed you the setup for in Zapier that's going to populate. So I will simply replace the system default field with my custom field. And then when Zapier creates this project, it'll fill in that value, and then this welcome email will be sent by Motion.io. So great question, Tim. Thank you so much for writing in. And hopefully that answered it for you. Let me know if you have any follow-up questions. All right, so I have actually way more questions about Motion.io than we will have time for in this video, but I do have a couple of other good ones that I want to show you all, things that, people, I see them ask, quite a bit about Motion.io. So I want to provide you with just like my download of, best practices, advice for setting up your account. So a question that we get, especially from people who are just getting into Motion.io, maybe running their first couple client projects, is how do I apply an update to multiple projects at once? And an update can mean a couple of different things. Maybe that means a notification. Maybe that means creating a new task. Maybe that is a new portal page that you want to create and display across your client projects. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to update clients or update things in your projects in bulk. So the thing that I will show you first here is I'm going to hop back into, I'm going to get out of this specific project and back into my project dashboard. I'm also just going to go ahead and delete this example project. So let's say that you have a group of, you have some projects that you're working on, that are falling a little bit behind. And there's one particular task that is becoming overdue. What you could do to first surface that information is navigate to the Tasks tab here. In case you missed it, this was a really, really cool update that we made to Motion.io just a couple weeks ago. On this page, you can view and filter by all of the tasks across all of your projects in Motion.io. So it gives you a little bit more granularity within how a project is progressing. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to filter by, I'm going to do no assignee. I'm going to filter by clients. And then I'm going to go to look at just active tasks. And I can see right at the top here when I'm in this view. So this is why this is really helpful, because I can immediately see, okay, there are two projects, both Sunny's, Sandoz, and Moxie Beverages, where they still haven't scheduled their kickoff call. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is head back to my projects. And I'm going to select those two projects where I know those tasks are overdue. So I'll select Sunny's, Sandoz, and Moxie Beverages. I'm then going to go ahead and in my bulk actions dropdown, go to send bulk chat message. So when I do this, what this is going to do is send the clients for the project I selected a chat message within their portal that says, hey, please schedule your kickoff call. And this isn't probably the exact language I would use, but just to be, a little silly for a second, best. And I'm simply saying, hey, recipient, please schedule your kickoff call, and I will go ahead and click send. And this will automatically notify those two clients, following up with them and saying, hey, this is overdue, go in and complete that. So that's one way to send an update, where you can use the bulk actions dropdown to send a message at once. But there's also another action that you might find helpful if you are updating projects as they go. Let's say for this example, to show you this feature, I want to I want to create a task for all clients in my account with completed projects to enter a review for our business onto one of the review websites. So let's say, just for the sake of example, that these two projects were completed. And I want to add a task. It doesn't exist in the project already. I want to add a task for the client to leave that review for us. I can select my projects, go to import tasks, and then I am going to go down to my offboarding tasks template and select this task to review us on Google. This is a really handy way if you need to update things or create new things on the fly in your projects. Basically, what I did to set this up ahead of the live stream today is I created this template called offboarding tasks. And once that's created, I know that any place I need to use it, I can. Because let's say that I don't ask every client for a review. I only do it for projects that went especially well. And I don't want to send that information automatically. I set up this offboarding task template, and I can very quickly import the task to review us on Google directly into those projects that I want. When you are importing tasks, another cool aspect of it is that you also have the ability to set the new task to active, as well as assign that new task or tasks directly to the client. Just a quick note, when you use this bulk action, it is going to assign and send the task to the first client you added to the project. So I'll go ahead and click import and then jump back in to this Tate's Tater Tots project. And I can see, sweet. Okay, in the offboarding stage, this review us on Google task is active, assigned to the client, and ready to go. So this bulk action, really slick way to just update things on the fly, especially for active projects where maybe they don't all follow the same workflow, or maybe you even just have a new task that you've created that you'd like to import into a project and make a part of your workflow and want to go back to older projects to do so. The final way I'll show you how you can apply updates all at once across projects in Motion.io is going to be utilizing Motion.io's global template updates feature. So the way the global template updates work in Motion.io is that if you update something in a template, Motion.io can go ahead and update it or add it to all of the active projects you have created from it previously. So looking at my account here, I can see that this brand redesign template has been used 4 times. So if I apply a global update to this, what Motion.io will do is automatically update all 4 of those projects. This is really useful if you are adding things like new tasks, but it also works for portal tabs. So if you add or adjust a new portal tab, it will automatically be included in all projects. So I'm going to keep this quick and easy because we are coming up on the top of the hour. I'm just going to call this example just to show you how to apply a global template update. So sweet, I created this new page, and then Motion.io is going to prompt me saying, would you like to apply this change to all active projects created from the template? I'm going to go ahead and click yes. And what you will see is that in my projects created from that template, I would have that new tab titled example right at the top. And Motion.io handled that for me automatically. It basically sent that update I made to all of the projects I had already created from that template. And just to show you what this looks like for a task, let's say I wanted to add another task to my offboarding stage. In addition to that one I imported already, I could go ahead back into my template. Quickly add a stage called offboarding, apply it, and then I'll add a task. This will be a client task. And what will we have the client do here? Oh, we'll say refer a friend. Set this to client. And I'll say, please fill out the form to refer your friend. Okay. Save task, and you will see once again, Motion.io automatically prompts me to apply that task that I created to all of my active projects that were created from the template already. So a super cool feature, and really those 3 things that I showed you are going to be huge time savers if you need to go back and make updates to projects you've already launched with clients. Things like, and just a recap of what I talked about, 3 of the different ways you can update things in bulk include being able to send bulk chat messages, being able to use a bulk action to send tasks, as well as using Motion.io's global templates update feature to automatically apply changes you make to a template to all active projects. So with that, we are coming up on time here today, everyone. I mentioned that I have way more questions on my list than we had time for today. So I will be doing another one of these in about 2 weeks from now. Next week, we will be back with our product update live stream, which is just going to talk about the new features, the things that we've released over the past month. But then the week after, I will do another one of these because it seemed like it was valuable for you all. I hope it was. If not, let me know. And yeah, it's been really fun hanging out with all of you today. Like I mentioned, we've been doing these live streams every single week now. So keep on the lookout. If you've signed up for a Motion.io trial, you automatically receive emails about our latest streams, but you can also follow us on YouTube, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, which will notify you automatically whenever we go live. So with that, everybody, have a fantastic rest of your Friday and a great weekend. Had a blast hanging out with you. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.